Prepare to be shaken and stirred this week as we delve into James Bond's murky gaming past.
The nefarious John Robertson reels off 5 of his favourite evil geniuses. These MI6 agents spill all about life as a spy, and it's a fight to the death as we dust off Goldeneye 64's legendary multiplayer.
The name's Nation. Videogame Nation.
This gaming sensation, such power, video game nation, video game nation. Dan and John and Eva and these guys.
Psychopathic sex pest James Bond has spent over 60 years gracing the worlds of literature, radio, cinema and bank holiday TV with his irresistible brand of suaveness and thuggery. But did you know that he's also spent over 3 decades in secret service to gaming?
I mean, yes, most of his digital escapades have been as useful as Scaramanga's third nipple, and there was that time when Sean Connery shacked up with Natasha Bedingfield for some reason, but he's remained an enduring figure in the medium nonetheless, with more games than Bond's had hot women.
It's all got off to an incredibly surreal start with 1983's 007 James Bond, which condensed the events of The Spy Who Loved Me, Moonraker, Diamonds Are Forever and For Your Eyes Only into a single manic side-scrolling shooter.
The game plays fast and loose with physics, scale, and reality itself as James battles flying diamonds, gigantic divers, and mutant jellyfish from the safety of his transforming motor.
I was too busy learning how to use a toilet properly to have played it at the time, but luckily for me, it was only the first of many terrible Bond games.
My first brush with a tuxedo-clad cad was back in 1990, when I was the proud recipient of the ZX Spectrum Plus 2 James Bond 007 Action Pack. As if the built-in tape deck wasn't thrilling enough, it came bundled with a Magnum light phaser, the best name for the worst light gun ever, and a trio of diabolical Bond games, including The Living Daylights, the computer game.
Trust me when I say that a laser between the legs would have been more entertaining. Here's hoping that our experts had a more positive introduction to Digibond.
The first Bond game I ever played was probably Goldeneye, but I also played a game at the same time called James Bond 007 on the Game Boy. It was like a James Bond game that kind of looked and felt like a Zelda game. I don't remember if it was any good, I just remember that it exists.
Goldeneye 007 N64 Bush. Wicked game. Best game. It was a licensed game that was good. You'd be crawling on your hands and knees in a tuxedo in air vents, shooting people in toilets.
Much like his cinematic career, Bond's gaming CV is a real mixed bag, with a hit-to-miss ratio to rival the average gun-toting henchman.
British publisher Domark held the license hostage for nearly a decade, rolling out clunker after clunker, and culminated in 1993 with James Bond 007 The Duel. This Sega system-exclusive action platformer marks the last appearance of Timothy Dalton as Bond. At least, I think that's supposed to be Timothy Dalton. Fortunately, things picked up for our short-change spy in 1994, when Rare and Nintendo nabbed the rights to Goldeneye.
The rest, as they say, is history.
Goldeneye 64 didn't just prove that you could make a worthwhile Bond game, it also demonstrated that first-person shooters could work on a console, popularized skill-based unlocks over cheat codes, and introduced the concept of scaling the volume and complexity of mission objectives in line with the difficulty level.
Sadly, it wasn't enough to convince Nintendo to keep licensing Bond movies, but the game's DNA carried through to other classic FPSs like Perfect Dark and the Time Splitters series.
Nintendo did, however, publish the peculiarly Zelda-like James Bond 007 for the Game Boy before relinquishing the rights to EA, who promptly picked up where Domark left off with janky adaptations of Tomorrow Never Dies and The World Is Not Enough, and the appalling 007 Racing.
Just as it seemed that Bond had been condemned to a slow death by diminishing returns, he was rescued by a string of decent games based on original stories.
Agent Under Fire, Nightfire, and Everything or Nothing all folded driving sections into the mix for a more authentic Bond experience, just stopping short of including a martini-guzzling minigame.
It all went a bit off the rails again after that though, starting somewhat ironically with Goldeneye Rogue Agents in 2004 and ending with Goldeneye 007 in 2010. In fact, aside from Goldeneye, which I now never want to say again, no Bond movie has received a worthy gaming tie-in. So which one should be first in line to change that?
I know a lot of people are getting sick of remastered re-releases, but I just want Goldeneye re-released. I just want that again. I know we keep hearing things about licenses and blah, 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 but if everybody involved could just agree to sell it, all of them would make a fortune.
Now, I know there's been a Goldeneye game, but there's not been a game of the Tina Turner music video for Goldeneye, which is a brilliant music video and a brilliant song, or Casino Royale. Either or.
I think it should be Skyfall, because obviously the end game bit, when they're in the big castle and there's waves of guys and secret passageways, but then also remember the bit on the Chinese island that's completely deserted. Now imagine going there and having no weapons and having to stealth kill a load of baddies. That would be cool.
It's been 3 years since Bond last stunk up our screens in the awful 007 Legends, and with Activision mercifully relinquishing the license soon after, the opportunity for someone to step in and make amends is there for the taking.
Could this be the perfect franchise for Rocksteady Studios following the end of the Batman Arkham trilogy? Or perhaps Telltale Games could use him as the basis for their next episodic adventure? At the very least, there's a wealth of material there for a Lego game or 12. Whoever dares to pick up the poisoned Walther PPK next, it's almost inevitable that James Bond will return. Let's just hope that it's worth the wait. Now, here's Video Game Nation's resident Bond villain, John Robertson, with the 5 scoundrels that inspired his quest for world domination.
Hello, television friends. High def, high five. Supervillains, those people with the evil laughs and enormous brains who are still somehow foiled every single time by the handsome, cool hero. And I hate to tell you this, folks, but come over here and Uncle Johnny will give you a life lesson. Once you leave high school, that stops working. If you were a cool, handsome bully when you were at school, try going to a doctor. Those smart kids are a lot scarier when they get to decide how much anesthetic you get and how it gets in you. Our first supervillain has a doctorate because that's what it takes to go from normal villain to supervillain. Sure, you're evil, but have you studied? Like all evil geniuses, Dr. Proton has an underground lair and a secret base on the moon. And when you find him, he flies around on a rocket-propelled chair. You ever notice that supervillains are always a bit lazy? You've been running around for ages. And here's this jerk shooting at you from his rocket-powered Lilo. It's like, oh, at least put some effort into killing me. Remember Albert Einstein, that wacky, fun-loving German scientist with the crazy hair and that theory that led to the development of the atom bomb? Oh, lucky he was a pacifist, because if he wasn't, he'd be Dr. Wily from the Mega Man games. With an appearance based on old Albert, that's his first name too, Dr. Wily is a robot maker driven mad by jealousy and ready to take over the world with an army of deadly droids. Ah, Dr. Robotnik. I can hear that theme music now. Sing along if you know the words. Dun 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 dum 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 dum. Hey! Ah, beautiful. Also, do you remember Teddy Roosevelt, the fun-loving 26th President of the United States? He was a fat bloke with a moustache. That's who Dr. Robotnik is based on in the Sonic games, because Japanese developers apparently love to use old dead white dudes as the models for their villains. Dr. Robotnik is famous for making robots that fight a small blue hero, which makes him just about identical to Dr. Wily in Mega Man with one major difference. The Sonic games made a lot more money. He's the first person on here not to have a doctorate, but that's because he's been too busy running a dictatorship and he only takes time off to organise fighting tournaments. M. Bison is the ruler of Shadaloo, a nation-state somewhere in Thailand. Possessing the psycho power, Bison fights to find new bodies powerful enough to hold his increasingly explosive, dangerous soul. But Bison is also the only villain on the list I've ever seen actually succeed. If you fail to beat Bison in Street Fighter Alpha 3, he will place you inside an enormous tank, then channel the power of your very soul into a beam of energy that shoots from the eyes of a statue that had been there for 5 games and nobody knew could move, which then shoots up into a satellite, which redirects it onto a major city, obliterating it. All while he laughs at you as only a man with perfect teeth and shoulder pads can. Our final villain is like a distillation of every other villain on the list. Fights mostly via a horde of underlings? Check. Immense physical coward? Check. When you reach him, fights while sitting down? Yep. Faking disability to gain your sympathy, which is typical behaviour for a kidnapper who's just sent a gang of thugs to kill you and everyone you love, Belcher will eventually get out of his chair and fight you directly, which gives our heroes the opportunity they needed to throw him out the window. And so he plummets to his death, but like all villains, he doesn't actually die. In Mighty Final Fight, he's a cyborg, and in Final Fight Revenge, he's a zombie. Just putting it out there, kids, if you don't want to die, turn evil. You either get to be a cyborg or a zombie. Or a doctor, if you got the grades.
After the break, we'll be exposing gaming's greatest spies and reacquainting ourselves with Goldeneye 64's ridiculous controls for some classic deathmatch action. Don't miss it.
It actually was the exception that proved the rule that games that have to be complete rubbish if they're based on movies.
Start Sunday from 10 on Challenge.
Welcome back. Now, if James Bond films are to be believed, being a master spy involves drinking on the job, sleazy womanizing, and getting caught with alarming regularity. In reality, Bond would probably be the laughingstock of his fellow agents, most likely at his own funeral. Still, his influence on virtual espionage is undeniable, as these MI6 recruits will testify.
I think James Bond is really interesting because he's a character and it's a franchise that mixes big action moments, which obviously games are all about, but then they've also got a lot of character, a lot of humor, and really exotic locales and gadgets. And you can see a lot of games have pulled on those ideas when trying to create, especially, cinematic action games.
I think Bond has really put gadgets and quips into a lot of games. I mean, what game doesn't have a man with gadgets and quips? That's in a lot of games, and that's pure James Bond.
Well, James Bond has influenced gaming in a huge way, because after that, you got so many different kind of spy characters coming out. You had Sam Fisher with the Splinter Cell, boom, Wicked with the 3 green dots, and none of the guards could see it. You'd be standing in the shadows, 3 green dots, and they'd be like, I don't see nothing. And then they just walk on by. They get choked out. But after that, one of my favorite games of all time, Perfect Dark with Joanna Dark. Yes. Not talking about the Game Boy one. That was rubbish. Not talking about the 360 one. Forget that. The original N64. Boom. That was a beautiful game.
Headshots. I would take that for granted now, but James, that Goldeneye, that's the first game where you started to target body areas. So actually introducing headshots and precision to shooting, that was another thing. And also with Goldeneye, it actually was the exception that proved the rule that games that have to be complete rubbish if they're based on movies.
Favourite game as spy would have to be Sam Fisher from Splinter Cell. He's James Bond with better gadgets.
It's got to be Sam Fisher, right? Stealthy and sneaky, like me, and likes a good gadget. And the element of surprise. No one expects me to turn up anywhere.
Favourite gaming spy, it'd be Solid Snake. It's gotta be. Though, thinking about it, I don't know how much of a spy he really was. He definitely snuck into places, but I'm not sure how much intelligence he really gathered, other than finding out that a man had diarrhea. And he found that out via sitting in a room and listening to a man do a poo, which is, I never saw James Bond do that.
Some soldier with stomach trouble?
Albatross is my favourite spy. He was in Rolling Thunder, It was the first arcade game I ever saw in the 80s that actually looked like it was for like a platformer, but it was more adult rather than for kids. And the best thing about Rolling Thunder, you're looking at me like a mental, it's a real game. It's a very successful game, Sega one, I think. The best thing about it was 2D platformer, side on, but you could go indoors. So you could like hide behind a door and they'd go past. So it was like, although it was 2D, it actually had elements of 3D that you could sort of step out of view and hide and go back in.
Depends what game you're talking about. I mean, if you talk about Metal Gear Solid, yeah, he's a great Snake. But if you're talking about Snake Eater, that's a totally different Snake. Even though he looks the same, and it's the same guy doing the voice. It's the most confusing thing ever. I'd be like, yeah, he's great. But it's like, no, that's not him. That's his dad, the clone version. No, that's the other one. That's his brother, half brother. That's Liquid. No, that's that one. That's Solidus. No, that's too many Snakes. Take that out. Join the dark.
My ideal Bond game developer, it would probably be the guys who left Rare and set up Free Radical Studios. You're smiling, but I mean that sincerely, because actually they went off and did Time Splitters. They did that franchise. So if the team who were responsible for Goldeneye and then Time Splitters could do something like that again, Time Splitters was the closest anyone got to the feel of Goldeneye. So hopefully they'll do something else again.
It would have to be Rockstar or Remedy. What Rockstar did with Max Payne 3 and what Remedy did with Alan Wake, that was incredible.
For me, it would probably be CD Projekt Red making a James Bond game, because if you can imagine the people that made the Witcher series doing a really gritty, serious James Bond game, that would be amazing.
Ideal James Bond game developer would be Naughty Dog, without a doubt. Boom. They know how to do it right. They got all the elements. They've shown it before.
Because you only got to look at someone like Nathan Drake. He's got that, you know, he's got that kind of like chatty, Roger Moore-esque, smart Alec, you know, remark. It's quite brutal, you know, like Daniel Craig-esque Bond.
It's got the action set pieces, the exotic locales, it's got the really rich and varied cast of characters who the main character is always ending up having to be paired off with in different stages.
They got some comedy elements in there as well, in terms of Crash Bandicoot and stuff like that. Well-written characters.
If they were just put in like Monte Carlo and were a little bit more spy-y and less Indiana Jonesy, those are already great James Bond games.
And it always looks beautiful, and it always looks kind of sexy, and they go to like really exotic locations. They've done it already. I mean, it's basically, I mean, surely, is that happening? I feel like that should happen.
It was so funny. Crash Team Racing was a great game. That was the only game I'd say would beat Mario Kart. Great, they know what they're doing in all those ranges. So you could have wicked driving sections, boom. You got your action adventure, boom. And you got your little comedy elements in there as well. Naughty Dog. I said it first.
Back in the late 90s, GoldenEye 64's multiplayer was untouchable. What you might not know, however, is that it almost didn't exist. As the game was coming to the end of a long development period, a programmer at Rare called Steve Ellis took it upon himself to knock together a multiplayer mode without the knowledge of his superiors. This he managed in just a month. Fortunately, his secret efforts met with the management's approval, and it became an essential part of an already stellar shooter. But that was 18 years ago, and console shooters have moved on considerably since then. Still, GoldenEye's boxy characters, fuzzy arenas, and erratic controls still have an idiosyncratic charm to them. In theory, anyway. What about in practice? Well, I've gathered 3 of my closest frenemies to find out. It's a straight-up deathmatch in the iconic facility stage. First to 10 kill wins, unless the control scheme defeats us first. Let's introduce the competitors in the only way that's appropriate. Witness the face of
Here we are.
horrible polygon Sean Bean, because he'll be the last you see. This Silence PP7 is not an automatic. Oh no. You're singing it before you've killed them. You need to earn the right to sing that song.
Yeah, but I'm opening toilet doors.
Is that you? Who's hiding behind a door? Bond! It's just like you to hide behind a door.
No!
Just like the movies.
No, there's too
Are
many
you
people
trying to slap
in
me?
there. No,
You're trying to kill me with Bond
I'm gonna
karate
hide in
chops.
here.
It's all
Die!
I know.
Die!
Run away,
How many times do you have to shoot James Bond in the face when he's unarmed? I know. Oh my God!
This is why he's such a good spy.
Die! Look, someone's trying to kill you with a club, which
No,
is
stop it! No, Steve, I just said I'm unarmed.
infamously the worst weapon in the game.
Steve, I just said I'm unarmed.
Right,
Where are
well,
you?
I
Why
can
are you
see
just...
you're holding a gun.
No, I'm
Did you
not.
know the
No,
club
I'm not.
is
It's an
named
optical
after
illusion.
a rare employee?
It's an optical illusion.
It's an,
This game.
what's an optical illusion?
My gun.
Oh, right. Did you actually just try and convince someone your gun was an optical illusion?
Yes.
And it worked. That's the most upsetting thing.
Come
Are
on.
you, have you seriously not got a
I've
gun?
never had
Bond.
a gun.
Bond.
I can't.
Oh,
No, stop it. I've been chasing him for about 5 minutes. Don't take my kill.
First it's don't kill me, I don't have a gun. Then it's like, oh, I've been chasing that guy.
Can I just stay up?
What do you
so
like
I
on-
don't end up being worse.
What do you like on Call of Duty? Like, no, nobody hit me. Oh, come on.
Yay! Finally. Why is there no? I don't. Dan, I don't have a gun.
Oh, that's not me.
I mean, Chris, I don't. No, Chris, that wasn't me that did that the last time. Oh God, run away, run away, run away, run away! Quite fast, quite fast.
Just find a gun.
Got them all.
There aren't any. You
You
took
guys
them all.
are insufferable. Right,
Oh, come on. Where's the gun?
you do have a gun, and
No, I
you
don't.
killed me with the gun. Well done. Damn.
Steve, come back here.
You already found the No.
I remember buying the N64 bundle with this game, and now
And then throwing away the cartridge.
No, I played it. Shut up! Right, that's it. Shut.
It's not my fault. Son.
I do not suck.
Put bullets in him.
Where are you? I'm
Toilet fight, toilet fight.
Toilet fight. I'm coming
Everyone's in
to
the
play.
toilet. Toilet fight.
Frame rate.
Are you on the toilet?
Kill him.
I'm not gonna die like
I'm
Elvis.
gonna come into the girl. Into the I can't open the door.
You
Why
can't open the door because you can't open the door. Try it.
I'm trying it.
Press it
Look.
again. There you go.
Hey! No! I accidentally put my gun away. No! No! Steve! Get back off.
What a way to die, shooting Bond in the back like Trevelyan would.
006.
Uh-oh, he's trying to chop me up bad. He's trying to chop me bad. Guess what? Oh, headshot to Bond and it's 10.
You are the worst person.
Thank you. And with that, my VGN challenge winning streak extends to 2. But I have a feeling it's just going to keep going and going and going. And that's all we have for this week. Don't forget that you can stay in touch with us on the official Video Game Nation Facebook page.
Yes, or you can tweet at us using the hashtag VGN.
Indeed. See you next week.
Bye.
Steve, wave.
Aim and fire and hit the bullseye of your Saturday night's entertainment on Challenge with Bullseye tonight at 8.